The definition of these words, othering, power, and control, can be put up into your own interpretation. But for us, we found that power is what you see from the outside, or like how you have the ability to do something to someone if you want it, while control is like the actual person who has the influence but may not be noticed to have it as much, just like a puppet master. Othering is like discriminating against someone based on their race or religious viewpoints. For example, in The Tempest, we can see how Prospero had power over Ariel due to their master-servant relationship. In Act 1, Scene 2, we can see how Prospero had the ability to do something to Ariel as he threatened her that if she doesn't do what he says, then he'll imprison her again. In Othello, the concept of control and othering is huge throughout the whole play. When you think about Othello, people may think that he had control. He was a valiant general and a good husband. But if you think about it, it was actually Iago who had control over everything. Iago was the one behind the scenes, manipulating everything to his liking, from the intoxication of Cassio, the handkerchief, and even how Desdemona will die was all influenced by Iago. His silver tongue compelled everyone to do his bidding however he wanted. He was a puppet master while everyone else was his puppets. As for othering, we can see how race played a role. Even though Othello was a famous general and very well known for his achievements, people still discriminated against him due to his skin color. He was not referred to as Othello, but as the Moor. And even though works like The Tempest and Othello came out hundreds of years ago, we found that Shakespearean definitions of power, control, and othering has not changed much. During Shakespearean time, power meant having a lot of money, being of a high rank, or having a respectable career. However, it is not different today. People today still admire others with lots of money, a successful career, and a higher position in society overall. When it comes to control, even during Shakespearean time, characters like Iago show how puppet masters like him were still able to take control of the entire situation, and it is the same today as well. We today blame issues like discrimination on white supremacists or lawmakers, but in reality, it's the lobbyists that are the ones in control. Also, in the popular Netflix show Squid Games, the player thought that the ones in red were the ones in control, begging them for food or stepping back when they entered. However, at the end of the show, we find out that player 1 was the actual mastermind of the entire plot. They showed how the ones in control are able to manipulate anything to their liking.
When we talk about othering throughout history, we can list many different situations and groups who are affected. This othering can also range by severity and case by case as well. This discriminating can be through bullying or ignoring, but even to certain extremes like harming or killing. Characteristics like religion, race, gender, disability, and more can be considered as reasons for othering. For example, Black people have been discriminated against throughout a long period of history by many groups and countries in the world, in particular the US. However, the severity of the issue has changed over time as well. During the slavery era, Black Americans were not considered humans. Jim Crow times, they were put restrictions that made them separate from whites. Today, they are targeted by gerrymandering and portrayed by media as dangerous individuals, being targeted by racist cops. Over time, this othering went from being normalized and straightforward to being more subtle and systemized into society. In a poem by Kenneth Rexroth called Discrimination, the poet writes, "Their art is interesting, but certainly barbarous. I'm sure, if given a chance, they'd kill us all in our beds. And you must admit, they smell." Stereotypes like these against Black people can still continue to exist. This different, more current-day othering is not as upfront as it would have been years ago, but still remains to other the Black community. I recently watched the Disney film Encanto, and the way Maribel, the main character's mother, treated Maribel in contrast to the rest of her family is also a modern example of othering that happens often today. The grandmother believed that Maribel and her inability to receive a superpower was tearing the family apart. She saw her as inferior and not of use to the village, gaslighting and shutting her down. This othering was portrayed through subtle actions and phrases throughout the movie, just like how Black Americans and many other marginalized groups are being othered today. However, money does play a big role when it comes to othering. Ones without much can be seen to be much more affected, while ones with are seen to be respected more. Ones with money tend to be respected more and can sometimes become hard to other against, especially as with money comes great power. However, though one may have money, I still don't believe they completely stop becoming an other. Icons like Oprah Winfrey are well respected in the media industry. However, haters continue creating remarks against her race. Money can also temporarily stop the othering. However, I believe it cannot prevent it from happening at all. Money has an immense amount of power, but cannot do much or does not last long because it'll always run out.